Oscars.
Discount. Discount. More Kevin's.
You guys ever really good?
Yeah, we canned tomatoes the entire day.
Okay, you're right.
It's a small country. Yeah.
Just two souls capturing romance. Walked a little while, told a few stories, and almost fell. You said that I wasn't this may not be what you asked for. Rough-looking man like myself. Before you quit on me, I got some things in store. Over time I've acquired knowledge and wealth. Since the dawn of man was to satisfy all his women needs. Life is like a quicksand. Honey girl, you beat down on your knees. They call us the three men king. How much time is in the hourglass? We go round and round looking for an end. We try, we fall. Maybe it's healthy. Circles come in the form of a ring, but maybe it means it's too late. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. And all I hear are stories. All they do is bore me. He can't do it like me. Sometimes I think that I push away. How long are you here to stay? Dry eyes on this side, cause I realize circles are never ending. All we're for a friend. We go round and round looking for an end. We try, we fall. Maybe it's healthy. Circles.
Does it have to charge right now? No.
conversion code. So I told him like, oh, suck a year and.
Oh, I haven't seen those guys in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in forever.
So what night is it, you guys?
Sunday.
What day?
Sunday, May.
I love this procedure, by the way. It's Sunday.
19th.
It's Sunday night.
It's Sunday night, May 19th.
May 19th,
cold.
2019.
What year?
The day of the Bobo Link.
It's the day of the Bobolink today, actually. Yes.
And what else is going on tonight?
We're having dinner together.
We have a
there's
bunch. We have
Sarah visiting, Aunt's friend. There's
Excellent.
Ami,
yeah.
and there's Caleb, who are all visiting from
Nobody's using paper towels, but I.
out of town. We're starting to take our shirts off because it's getting hot. It's end of summer, very
Yeah,
soon.
Yeah.
It's also Game of Thrones night.
It's the last
And-
episode of Game of Thrones.
Going down.
Caleb is wearing a skirt so he can air out his ball sack.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
So guys, do we want to do the scoop? What's the scoop? So let's start over here because this is a format we have employed before. So let's go with me. Yeah, today we did drone brunch, which was fun. Marion and I were facilitating this event downstairs, and Caleb came up to play, and we had some other friends play. It was great. Yeah, I'm just gearing towards more pottery projects. Gonna wood fire in June, and trying to figure the rest of life out. Caleb, scoop.
I'll have one mint chocolate chip, vanilla swirl, and a cilantro peppercorn juju bone.
Dude, that's the same order that I've placed.
I love good juju bone.
He doesn't.
I'm a hokey.
All the things.
Goddamn
Blackbird
hokey.
represent.
Oh, so you make this.
Marion, scoop.
Oh, wait, I got it right.
Today I learned
Sorry.
that.
I was like, why is that like that?
Today I learned that
Stress you out.
when
Making
the,
her ingredients
My
wish
documentation.
list.
when the Hokies have football games in Virginia Tech, when the football team runs out, they sing Enter
Nope, I don't
Sandman
use a
by
pencil.
Metallica, and the whole stadium jumps
Whoa.
and evaporates.
Fuck yeah.
They lose it apparently.
Fuck yes.
The other
Wow.
scoop is just grateful to be having quality time with my friends. And we went to the woods today, and I saw 4 toads. And we
We
also
saw so many
had
cool
a great
things in the woods.
great time looking at plants. And Caleb taught us more about plants.
We all
Yeah,
taught
we had
each
a
other
great walk.
We
Awesome.
saw a bunch of swallows.
Awesome.
Ami was
And
there
Hannah.
too. In the
A
woods.
lot of good information.
Ami was air basing like
Straight
a pro.
up, he taught us all about what to look for poison ivy
Jewelweed.
and how to cure it.
Jewelweed.
Essential. I need to do a walk with you to do that because I feel like I'm always confused about what poison ivy is, and I just assume everything is poison ivy.
So, Ami, scoop. What's your scoop? Life summary for today.
Life is great.
Life summary.
Good people, you know. We gotta stay positive. We gotta love each other. Look out for each other. Support each other. I'm talking to you.
What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?
Right now, doing a bunch of sketches. Doing a lot of nature drawing. Inspiration by nature. Inspiration from plants. You know, botanical illustration. Same old stuff. Drawing the bugs. So,
You gonna move back to Baltimore?
yeah. Coming back to Baltimore. I'm back in
You're
Baltimore.
doing it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Baltimore, yeah. Officially back in Baltimore as of today.
Welcome back.
Welcome. Yeah. Thanks.
Sarah, scoop.
If
If
like-
you want to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
No
Well,
obligation.
I've been invited to this incredible table with these incredible friends, and I'm just. This is great. This is my hometown, and I'm back, and I'm loving what you guys are doing with it. So keep it up.
Spirit fingers. My scoop is that I had the weekend off, and that was very exciting. and I feel very well rested. And this is the second night in a row that we've all gotten to sit around this table and eat together, and that's been really awesome. Last night we went out in the street and played with a playground ball,
Yeah.
and that was really fun. Tonight we're going to have a cuddle on the big pillows and watch Game of Thrones and eat an enormous amount of popsicles. And yeah, I got a lot of exercise with my little sweetheart in the sun. We've been roller skating and skateboarding at Lake Montebello. And I'm still working on the food truck because I remember that the last time I did a scoop, I was working on the food truck in the winter. Still doing that. Slowly making my way away from the food truck because I don't like smelling like crab cakes anymore. Yeah, life is great. The summer is coming. That's wonderful. What's your scoop, Christopher?
Yeah, let me switch that on you.
Scoop me. I'm enjoying my last few months in living inside of Holy Underground. It's been one of the most incredible things I've ever done in my entire life. I'm really grateful for everybody I've done it with, and yeah, just an unbelievable mind blower. Holy Underground.
Yeah, boy. Chris, I got a question.
What's up?
Do you have any words of wisdom for your future self?
Make sure the tape gets digitized.
Nice.
And also take care of each other. And I'm excited to be moving into my own place with Anne pretty soon. But we're gonna keep feeding into this community and what it's about and what it does.
We'll stay connected.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I got words for future self. To go north, you must go south. To go east, you must go. To go west, you must go east. To go forward, you must go back. And to get to the light, you must pass under the shadow.
Yeah, turn it up. Poor Caleb. He's content.
Yeah.
We can turn it up on this one.
You guys can have a lot of self-control
Yeah.
down in public spaces downstairs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, to
Not say something.
I almost ruined it earlier.
Yeah. Anybody notice how many minutes the episode?
It's over an hour.
Mimi was shaking her laffy taffy.
Just kidding.
I thought it was a nice thing. Like just like out of religion for like half my life now. That
So Chris, hold on, I'm trying to get you. There we go. Do you have a message for future John Bowman? What would you like to tell him?
First of all, I love you, man. And I hope that
You owe me $5.
that's what Caleb says. I hope that we get to continue being friends for a long time. I hope we have a couple more decades, and that I hope that there's a I hope that there's a beautiful world that humanity gets to enjoy as well. Look into his eyes.
vibing outside. Shaking the
party.
twerk party. Dang, getting low.
That's what's up.
Yeah, this is like waking us up.
And what time is it?
2 in the morning. They got some really good bait drunk moves. She's kind of up on the wall, squatting.
Dang. Dang.
Yeah. I know, this is the guy with the camera. Holy shit. Ooh. Wow.
Chris's birthday tarts.
Look at the.
Crucial, I also love the turtley one.
Oh! For your birthday, baby! For your birthday!
I love that turtle card.
Yeah.
The update of the moment. June 2nd, 2019. It's about 9:35 p.m. Just returned from a very pleasant excursion in Virginia with friends and family, including John Bowman. I feel very good, and I've been presented with this really great meal.
And what day is it today?
I said it's my birthday. Yes, that's the thing. 33.
So, Anne, what is all the food that you prepared?
So we've got tabbouleh, we've got baba ganoush, we've got lamb kofta, which is like a Persian lamb meatball, and then there's grilled pepper, onion, garlic cubes. There's some peas from the market, and there's some bread also from the market. Incredible pies with his sous chef, Ami. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chubby. Baby boy, little Chinese. Tuggy. Happy birthday to you.
Flies in the UFO.
And her baba.
Yeah. It's pretty well.
I feel like I sent it back. Tomorrow.
Hey, so this is VNA. I'm in the kitchen with Marshall. Hey, Marshall.
Hey, how's it going?
Marshall, do you want to tell us what is today? What is the date?
Oh, today is June 6th, 2019.
Okay. That's good, just so we can find ourselves in time later on when we watch this. Marshall, I think it was around 2 years ago or so. We did an interview with you. We were back in the living room, and Chris, upon digitizing that tape recently, discovered that the audio was gone. So we had this great shot of you, but no audio. I think what I was asking you was, of course, like, introduce yourself a little bit, you know, like, who are you, who is Marshall, what do you do, and also in the context of your experiences with intentional communities around the country and DIY spots, what is your perspective on Holy Underground, and what is your relationship with this space here?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Marshall James Cavanaugh. I'm a poet, dream punk, fellow organizer, touring artist, performance artist, all these different, wild ways of saying, like, hey, I'm this, like, wild creative that exists in the plane we're on at this very moment, creating some dreamy stuff that other people find entertaining. And yeah, so my relation with Holy Underground is I was first brought here by you, actually, V&A. I guess in 2013, after meeting Marion through events that I was throwing in Philly, and she toured and performed there.
Was that Little Berlin or?
Yeah, I was at a little Berlin show, and called Plato's Porno Cave. It was a month-long exhibition that I did that recreated the myths and texts of Plato's Republic. So yeah, all these like connections led me to the Holy Underground. I performed here in 2013, and yeah, I really enjoyed the space. I felt like I met like-minded people, like-minded creatives who were living in an intentional community that I don't know. It put art above all else, and performance and community space above all else. I think the first thing that I was affected by when I walked into the Holy Underground was the fact that the event I was at was not only like a poetry reading with some puppeteers, it was a potluck, and there was a meal going on the entire time that everything was happening.
It was in the living room, right?
Yeah, this one was in the living room, but then I mean, it was also in the kitchen too. Everyone was hanging out.
Mm-hmm. But it was up here as opposed to
yeah, it was
downstairs.
as opposed to the basement.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And so yeah, I don't know. I felt like I met people that were doing interesting things that I could get along with. Also, like organizing space the way I like to organize space, which is I feel like in the DIY scene, we're not only creating space for all these, you know, bizarre interactions of, you know, like of the creative imagination. It's also we're creating space for people to come together and talk about, you know, what's going on in everyday life. So there is this like really beautiful community that forms, whether it's around the music or around the interesting personalities that you meet in these like bizarre spaces that you find yourself in. So yeah, I don't know. Holy Underground in relation to the rest of the country. Well, let's see. It's 2019, so I've been coming through here for about 6 years. I feel like the majority of the people that I've interacted with at the Holy Underground are like close personal friends, if not family. Yeah, we've collaborated on like dozens upon dozens of events at this point, and like other sorts of like creative projects. There's like portraits of me around the house. There's poems that I've written around the house. There's like collaborated paintings that we've painted around the house. There's exquisite corpses that we've done around the house. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this space is like a high vibed, multi-dimensional portal that all of the members have like cultivated and over the years grown, and it's like had waves. And then I was having this conversation earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, where I was talking about, you know, I started becoming a full-time touring artist in 2015, and I saw other venues in like mostly on the East Coast, but some on the West Coast that reminded me of the Holy Underground. Big one was 368 Ponce in Atlanta. There's also the Commune in DC. There's also I don't know, I can't really think. West Coast is a little different, but I don't know, there's these like intentional communities that I found myself performing in. So it's like artists had come up with this idea where it's like all of a sudden we're like, all right, it's like it's like the aughts, or it's like the teens. Like now we're gonna do intentional communities like it's the '60s, but we're like artists, and we're punks. So our main thing, instead of like Dayglow and acid, is gonna be like punk rock and I don't know, just whatever is in between that. So I feel like there is this nice moment where I was like, wow, all of these like DIY venues are becoming intentional communities. And intentional community to me means just people coming together and sharing their budget, sharing their space, sharing like lessening borders and boundaries and opening to connection on more layers than just like, oh hey roommate, I just live with you. It's like, oh, we're actually living as one person or one group of people. So yeah, out of all those venues that I saw in that first year, 2015, the Holy Underground, interestingly, is I think pretty much the only one that's left. So yeah, it's 2019, and yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see. It's not like these other ones that when are done, or it's not like the groups like died. It's like the people have moved on to other projects. So some of the like sad stories have turned into like greater stories. So it's like it's really interesting to look at how different scenes kind of like go through the cycles. But usually you don't see a DIY venue lasting more than 2 years, 3 years. So it's interesting, even without the Holy Underground being the special circumstance that it is, where it's an intentional community. It's interesting to look at it as a performance venue and see that it's been around for like 7 years now, 8 years.
7 years.
7 years
As of this month.
Yeah. So that's like pretty mind blowing, and it's pretty cool that there's still original members that are sitting inside of it as well.
Yeah, there's 3 original members, and Marion is quasi original member now.
Yeah.
She wasn't there at the very beginning, but she
Close
moved in,
enough.
pretty early after. So
Yeah.
yeah, actually, I think our first show of our first year here was in August, end of August, or maybe early September. So we didn't start having shows right away, but the place as an intentional community is now 7 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
And yeah, it took us just like a couple months to set up the venue.
Yeah.
Get organized. Maybe an additional question I can think of right now is of the other places you've seen across the country. Are there certain similarities or differences with Holy Underground that stick out to you right now? Is there what are some similarities or common things, and then is there something here that makes it unique as opposed to other places?
No, I mean that's like an endless list of things. I think the thing that makes Holy Underground unique, even for Baltimore, because like when I started going to shows in Baltimore, it was all loft spaces, so warehouse spaces where it's one floor, pretty big open room. There's sometimes like some rooms constructed within that room, and then like the main area is a band playing. I think what's interesting about the Holy Underground is it's completely separated, with the performance venue being the basement, the actual Holy Underground, and then the living community being upstairs, and the two can be removed from each other when that's like something that is desired, like which most I would say the majority of alternative venues do not have that capacity, like do not have that ability. Yeah, another difference I would say is like, yeah, there's these intentional communities, but what is an intentional community? Everyone has different rules for what that means. you could go to actual communes and they would have all their like bylaws to be like, oh, this is a fake commune, like it's all, they would be pretentious about it. But I feel like the Holy Underground, what sets it apart is with some of these other like self-declared intentional communities is the shared food budget. So, I mean, every time I've come to the Holy Underground, I've had like a full meal cooked for me, or I've cooked a full meal with people, and there's always this abundance of food that like, I don't know, it's like, it's pretty incredible when you take that money part of it away, like where you're like, oh, this costs this much, and you put in like, this is like our like feast, like, and it's just that's all you think about. You think about the value of eating with each other and cooking with each other. And I've been here in years when a lot of the food was recycled from like the Baltimore Free Farm, or there was like harvests coming in, or when I lived here during an artist residency, we were bringing in recycled food from, I forget what the kitchen was called, but it was basically like food that wasn't selling at the big markets out in the burbs that would be brought, and then you pay $15 for a giant bag of like all you can grab.
Oh, Blue Bag Baltimore.
Yeah, Blue Bag Baltimore. Yeah, that
Like
I was bringing that in with Katie, and it was we were like jarring stuff, making kraut, doing all this cool stuff.
Parentheses. Was it 2016 that you did your residency here?
Yeah, so I lived here twice. I did an artist residency in 2016 in the month of February, and the following year I was a sublet for the month of February and part of March.
That's
so
right.
Another month. And should we talk about the residency at all?
Sure. Yeah, Marshall, you want to talk about your residency that you did in 2016? Can you talk about all the different things that you organized during that time, and maybe afterwards, maybe quickly describe, what was your experience? What did it feel like actually living here for a month? As a resident.
Yeah, sure. So my residency, I guess my proposal was that I was coming out with a new book. I was coming out with this book called Travel by Haiku, volumes 1 through 5, still tripping across the states. It's a collection of haikus I wrote while traveling around the country for 2 years in 2014 and 2015. But as I was putting the book together, I realized I had no idea how to perform a haiku. And I wanted to tour the book, but like, how was I going to tour this poetry that I didn't know how to perform? It seemed like I needed to practice. So I proposed that I was going to, for the month of February, I was going to work on how to perform a haiku, as well as I had the idea that maybe a part of it would involve video, different video art pieces that I would put together, which is something I was already interested in doing. I just never really had the time to sit and work on it. And then as part of being a resident, I decided I was going to book a bunch of performances at the venue, to where at each one maybe I wouldn't be like the headliner, but it was like the idea was it would be chances for me to practice and work and demo out like what I was like working on until like the final show, which was my thesis show, which was then I performed what I had worked on the entire month. So it was like pretty interesting. It was like kind of stressful at first, because like I felt like the first performance was kind of tough. It was a poetry reading series that was already happening anyway, that they needed a venue, so we moved it to the Holy Underground. I performed maybe like for like 10 minutes or something like that, something short. But my idea of like how I was gonna do the haikus like did not work, and that performance showed me how it was not gonna work, and like opened the door for me to like kind of brainstorm on how I was gonna make it work the next time. And basically that first performance was I had this idea like, oh, like I'll have like the video saying the haikus, and then this unicorn Majaka will be like performing like trumpet, and then like the next scene is like the unicorn performing on the TV, and then like I'm saying the haikus, and then the DVD was skipping, and like it sounded all garbled, and people were like laughing, but also in like a confused way because they didn't know like if the haikus were really funny or like what the fuck was happening. Excuse my language. What the hell was happening? So yeah, it did not work. I realized like Majaka does not work well with haikus. And then the rest of the performances were great because I started working on this video art. I had a TV installation in the front window that I was like playing the video art on every night that I was working on. And I created this really awesome backing track of like videos that I came up with that were basically like, they were the haiku, like, but all they would be in the video was like bird sounds or like wind blowing, and then I would recite the haikus that went with that. And all the video was like original video that I shot, and it was like pretty cool to like work on it that way.
You also had figure drawing night, and then your end of residency thesis show didn't you call it something like that?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, was it 4 or 5?
I think it was like 6 or 7 events that I hosted, because there's like a poetry reading series that was coming through. There was an open mic that
That's right, yeah.
like a word exchange that I hosted. There was a figure drawing that I like hosted. There was a show where Frank Hurricane came through and played. So it was like not all the things were things that I was necessarily hosting, but there are things that were like I was like playing a part into.
Oh my God, Marshall! I just thought of something. So can you get up and check this thing for me?
Yeah, it's right there.
You see the bulletin board? Yeah. I think it's still hanging over there.
So you want me to read through it?
Yeah, or
so this is the February Artist Residency, Marshall James Cavanaugh.
Yeah, it's funny. It's still right there.
February 10th, Masked Figure Drawing Night. That was the figure drawing night. February 14th, Emotionally Unavailable, but Not Reading series. That's the reading series I was talking about. February 17th, Concert with Marion McLaughlin and Frank Hurricane. So Majaka performed that as well. February 20th, Open Word Exchange featuring Elaine Ginsberg and Anna K. Crooks. And then February 27th, end of residency thesis performance. So, I guess there was only 5 events.
That's funny that was hanging there.
I knew that was there. It was pretty awesome to have this time to like. For me, it was going. It was being able to be given the space to craft something that I had never worked on before. Like I had never sat and worked on video art to that degree. I had like dabbled and fooled around, but I had never like crafted it to that degree. It was also like I had never sat. I've been performing poetry for since I was like 21 or 22 years old, but I had never sat with myself and been like, well, how do I like going over and over and over like by myself in the room like figuring out how to do like a haiku. And without that experience, I don't think I would have become the artist that I am at this point, where I don't know. It's like the haikus, like I still perform them the same way. I still have them singing. I still have them shouting. I still have them, being wild and silly across like this like crazy Zen mystic landscape. Yeah, it was really just my experience at the Holy Underground, being able to like just sit with myself and work on it for a month. And I chose the shortest month of the year too, which is kind of funny. But it's also like February is my most depressed month of the year, so I figured it was a good time to work on creative projects. And yeah, so my experience here, living here, was great because February is a depressing month for me, and then I had this huge community of friends that were like always walking through, and anytime I would be like getting a little lonely or like tired or like wasting away in my misery, like someone would be in the kitchen making tea or like making dinner or making lunch, and so I'd go join them and then work on stuff. Like it was good. It was nice to have like a community to rely on, and also if I needed to like disappear, like no one really bothered me or was like, "Where are you? You need to be here." It was just like, I was able to kind of like do my own thing as well.
Would you recommend Holy Underground residency to other artists?
I would say to certain kinds of artists. I would say if you're looking for something where, I don't know, like non-pretentious artists. Like I would say like relaxed, down to earth, fun-loving, community-loving artists. This is a great place to go and work on stuff. I don't think Baltimore would be like good for everyone. It's like Baltimore is a very interesting city. It's got its harsh edges. So it's like, I would say the Holy Underground goes the same way, where it's like, yeah, it's a really loving, nurturing space, but it's also a dilapidated row home that we're all living in that is constantly part of the art form.
Right. It's good to remind people of the wider context.
Yeah.
Of things.
Yeah.
Like the immediate neighborhood that we're in, and Baltimore in general.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't once say it's bad. I love it. It's just like, I think, it requires a certain interest or a certain perspective to like be okay with like. But then I would say punk artists, like maybe all punk artists,
right.
Like this is the space for them to work out their dreams.
Cool. Well, thanks, Marshall, for all your visits and all your insights.
Yeah, it was good to get on another tape. I look forward to tape number 4 and number 5. Maybe we'll keep this documentary going for another 10 years, and it can have like be featured every few years on every few tapes.
Yeah, who knows? Time will tell.
Yeah.
So shocked.
Yeah, so Katie brought home this Firestone tire yesterday. I just noticed it in the back area, and she had this idea to do this ottoman, and today we're eating breakfast and she comes out of the garage and it's already done, so she just whipped it out. Yeah, it just makes me want to like pet it forever.
Said you shadow in my heart, but don't start another love is not a game to play. You shadow in my heart, but don't start another love is not a game to play. You shadow in my heart, but don't start another love is not a game to play. Try to win my heart, but don't start no love. It's not a game to play. Yo! Try to win my heart, but don't start no love. It's not a game to play. You!
Snake movements.
Toasting and telling and lows, my dreams and we got it. Yes.
You the way I did, but I know it's too late for that now. All those flowers are already turning.
Yes, do it.
Are you gonna ask me what day it is?
What day is it?
Today's Sunday.
What's the date?
Today's the 23rd.
And what year?
You're not asking the month first?
2019.
And what month?
It's June.
There you go.
And what year?
Marion said it.
Oh, she
19.
said it, okay.
2019.
Nice. We got all the intel.
Does anyone want to keep an eye out?
They're from the school store.
Should I open it?
I'm the PTA treasurer, so I have to run the school store.
I love that.
Yeah, 5 cents a piece. It was a serious jewelry bargain.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
What do
you
you
can
gotta
win my
say,
heart
James?
with colorful
How are we
rings and
today here
bracelets.
out in TV Land?
Yep, I'm like a fancy,
Phenomenal.
I'm like a bird.
This is a great scene here. We have a kitchen filled with beautiful people and delicious food, and strawberries, peaches, oranges, apricots, and pita, and lemon, and beans, and almonds. It's going to be an amazing supper.
Excellent.
Damn, that looks fine.
I love this time of year with just like all the savory fruit and stuff, you know? I got really into, you know what, I was like 2 years ago I started cooking with tomatillos a lot. You ever cook with tomatillos? And you make like salsas, or you make like, I made like summer soups with based on tomatillos, and it's like, they're so amazing. And people don't understand them, you know what I mean? They're like a too often maligned fruit, you know?
Yeah.
I was the same. When I first was like on a farm that grew tomatillos, I was sent to harvest them, and I was 24.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
We made the pepper farm I worked at. We made a tofu.
Yeah. That's summer squash. Actually, it would be like make the base of it would just be tomatillos and onions and garlic.
So it's Vienna here filming. I'm with James. So James, it's Monday, June 24th. And yeah, James is a friend and recurrent visitor of Holy Underground. But yeah, I guess James, maybe I should ask you to introduce yourself rather. Can you introduce yourself and you know, tell who you are, what you do, and yeah, and we'll take it from there.
Great. I'm an artist, teacher, inventor, writer, and theorist, and I am a multidisciplinarian. So I have different hats at different times, and sometimes I wear all the hats at once. But here I've been focused on the art and creative work I do, and especially theoretical work leading to the book that I'm writing now.
And maybe some quick background. Where do you live?
I live in New York City, in Manhattan, right in the middle of the belly of the beast. Baltimore's almost a village-like setting, it seems sometimes when I come.
Yeah, so just some extra context for the tape. James, yeah, lives in New York and has been visiting Baltimore. You come maybe 3-4 times a year to visit us?
Yeah, seasonally, more or less.
Yeah.
Every 3 months or so.
So, and it's been, I feel like you've been visiting here almost the whole time that we've been a thing here at Holy Underground, maybe 6 years or maybe even the whole 7 years, right?
That's correct. I met Chris and John on a vacation in Charlottesville, I believe 2009, so prior to the emergence of Holy Underground, and experienced the personalities in the Copycat building, and then moving into here around 2011 and 12.
I think it was June 2012.
There you go.
Moved in here.
Wow.
So James, yeah, you've introduced yourself, and now I'm really curious if you were to explain to somebody who doesn't know what Holy Underground is, how would you describe what Holy Underground is to them?
Great question. Well, I would say it's a collective space. It falls within the sphere of the collective movement, or collective spaces movement, artist-run spaces, quite significant development, and very big movement as well in New York. But now not as big as it had been around the time that Holy Underground was formed. I would see it as a kind of hybrid, experimental, and somewhat liminal space where you've got a performance venue, sometimes showing exhibitions, sometimes more focused on one-time performances, and then you've had guest artists, and you've had artists in residence, and then a lot of informal culture and informal activity, things like potlucks, more typical of just a, you know, a collective house or like a hippie house in a college town kind of thing.
And let's see. I'm wondering, before I ask you exactly how you feel you relate and interact with Holy Underground, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on the living style that you observe here, and also afterwards, you know, what you think of the programming that happens here in terms of events.
Well, it's certainly very unique. I think there's an internal system of organizing here that I'm not even fully aware of, just that the people who actually live here partake in. And it seems very based in cooperation and mutuality and, you know, in a way like common sense, kind of just very straightforward, sensible and reasonable. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of interest in the connections, the interconnections between here and other spaces, the communes movement and other art spaces and artist-run projects and activist spaces, movement spaces. So I think there's an interconnectedness which is pretty significant, and a lot of overlapping communities, overlapping movements, overlapping ideologies, you know, are able to intermix here in a pretty cool way. I would distinguish that from like a more monocultured type space where everybody has the same ideology and background, they've all read the same authors, and basically agree with one another all the time. So it's nice that there's a little bit of room for productive conflict here, or disagreement. That's pretty cool.
And in the second part of the question, you know, events and programming. What's your vision on that as a outsider who has also like an eye inside?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I would say it's pretty consistent with collective or artist-run spaces. So there's a real community embeddedness to it, where the majority of the people who seem to be circulating through the space and performing are known, or friends of friends, something like that. So there's a little bit of a personal feel to it, as opposed to a fully professionalized approach, vetted by curators or art professionals, who have an agenda, usually related to their funding or their board members or something like that. So, in a DIY space, basically it's up to the crew who happens to be there making the decisions. Very high quality productions here, obviously. Extreme levels of talent, behind the scenes, living here, and then also in the larger network. I would say, in a way, it's really a place of understated talent. You go to many places in the world, and the people who are performing for a small group, 20 people, 30 people, would be filling much larger venues or being featured, at the university auditorium with like 1,800 people. But when you have a dense art world like you have in Baltimore, there's a ton of producers, a ton of artists. There's so much activity, similar to New York, that you get these movements are spread out a bit, and so the audiences are smaller, and obviously the venue couldn't accommodate 1,800 people, but overwhelming amount of talent relative to the overall production, if that makes sense.
So last question, if you want to feel free to elaborate. How do you feel your role with Holy Underground has been for the past 7 years, and how would you describe the way that you interact with this as a place? And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm I'm assuming I have a somewhat unique role in that I have had a key for like 5 years.
Right, you've been one of the only persons who doesn't live in Baltimore, or maybe the only person who doesn't actually live here who's had a key.
The key,
yeah.
right. I think at the beginning in particular, I was basically just a friend and kind of circulating around and visiting, like, I would visit friends. But there was an effort to get me to become a resident artist. In fact, that was the rap frequently between Chris and myself. Chris was petitioning me to apply and to come here for 5 or 6 weeks and do a project and have an exhibition. And the way things ended up evolving is that the work I really needed to do and wanted to do didn't necessarily fit into the exhibition format, nor did it necessarily make the most sense to embed here, for 6 weeks, a traditional residency model. I know the people in the place here quite well, so in a way I don't need to be influenced by this environment. And so I became a kind of unofficial or quasi-official or sort of atypical heterodox resident artist, where I did develop a project here. In fact, the book I'm writing was hatched here through conversations here to a certain degree, and that has been my interest to develop it here. But during the course of my development and this project's development, the residency program seemed to just dissolve or conclude. And so there wasn't really much formal programming besides a couple of workshops. And in my case, this was incredibly helpful, just because I really had a vague idea that needed to become more concrete. And this place became more like a writer's retreat, in a way, where you get away from your usual surroundings and you just find a little more freedom of thought and headspace, to develop and incubate an idea. And that, in a way, is the kind of residency that I've actually had. So more about being away from my usual routine and having the space to think, and develop ideas among the people here in conversation. So to me, a success, but different and not as it was originally planned. But I think that would be a good characterization of my relationship here in terms of my art, because there was a clear two phases. Have James become a resident artist, and then James doing his workshop materials and theoretical materials in relation to the book. In addition, I feel like I'm a good friend of the space and a good friend of the people here. I really, really enjoy the time here. It's very nurturing and a healthy experience, especially compared to the edge, the constant tension and stress of New York City, where whenever you have nice encounters, friendly encounters, there's always a time constraint and a money constraint. Everybody works all the time. There's only a couple of hours at the end of each day. The weekends are always booked. It's always expensive to move around the city. It's just a different kind of environment in New York. Much more competitive, much more professionalized, much more cutthroat. And you're never quite sure, is this your buddy, or are they trying to make connections through you, or something like that. This kind of runaway careerism in New York that you do not have here in this kind of a movement, in this kind of space.
Cool. Thanks, James. Maybe if one last thing that I'm curious about is, so you've interacted with other communities, intentional communities, or artist spaces and venues, and how do you feel in the spectrum of intentional communities? Would you place Holy Underground, or how is it? What are some notable similarities and differences that you can draw?
Well, again, I would say similar to my prior comment, spaces like this in New York are under much more pressure to bring in money to pay the rent, because each and every month rent is a challenge to meet, right? And the bills that have to get paid. So there's a much more hard-edge entrepreneurial sense in an environment like this in New York City, which is usually in Brooklyn. So it's far more relaxed, and the space is bigger. So you have this huge space really to play with. A big performance venue downstairs, studios out back, a couple of rooms that are sizable that you could have programming in. And again, in New York, there's usually either some grants or there's a kind of sugar daddy paying all the bills, who kind of like secretly controls everything or whatever, has a lot of influence. And here you don't have those dynamics at all. So it's way chiller. And in a sense, it's a bit of a hybrid between a programmed DIY art space and just a collective house. It's kind of half in, half out. And there's a tradition of those kinds of spaces historically. And I already mentioned the hippie house phenomenon. There's also the band house. Places like New Brunswick, New Jersey that have like super vibrant musical scenes, basement shows, things like this. And the people live there, but then they also program one part of the space. So there's something to that here. And again, I very much appreciate it. And appreciate the fact that it's got tentacles, in all these different movements. So you've got all these different kinds of people intersecting. So that's a bit unusual.
Cool.
In a positive way.
Yeah. Thanks, James, for sharing all your thoughts. Do you have any closing comments? General comments, closing thoughts?
Closing comments. Well, sure. I would say I hope Holy Underground certainly continues, and this is a documentary made about a phase shift as opposed to a closing down. And I think that it would be a very valuable thing to do more arts programming similar to the artist residencies, especially in relation to the environment here. It's not a normal place. I mean, you're right next to the train station, so you're on a East Coast corridor hub, very easy to get here from many, many cities and places. And then you have a kind of dominant institution right around the corner, MICA, a very, very expensive top design school. And then you have other significant institutions like Johns Hopkins very close by. And I think there's incredible potential to intervene a little bit into the city and offer programming that isn't being offered currently, such as affordable, contemporary, socially engaged, art instruction. And I see people getting educated at MICA for astronomical sums, well over $100,000 for a degree. And I think that, there are possibilities to do a better job for a tiny fraction of the cost. And I think it could be significant. And I have a bunch of other ideas, of course. But I hope the project continues. And
That's true. Well, I'm on my loud rock and roll stage. Your garden in DC.
No, here.
Your garden here.
For that, you got a lot of sounds that,
Yes.
that not very happy.
Happy birthday to you.
For announcements, first of all, I'm really happy everybody's here. I think Anne might be as well. Second of all, we're going to have a bunch of dancing and moving around, so stick around for that. Our esteemed roommate Chris is filming right now, I think, along with John, made a killer playlist, so it's going to be kick-ass. And also there's a R-Right photo station downstairs. I think it's pretty cool, I'm happy with it. Go down there, you can sit on the chairs, and there's a camera with a timer for 10 seconds, and you can take portraits of yourselves alone or with your friends. So yeah, and it's also really cool down there, so if you get hot, you can go cool down.
Cool down party.
Any other thoughts?
Dessert is served. So have some delicious peach cake from young Master Cody here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you.
Hey, Cody.
Did you get it on the tape?
Oh yeah.
Good.
We're gonna move the table and the couch back so we have more room.
Yeah.
In a
Oh,
second.
is it dance party time?
Yep.
There will be some dancing. Yeah.
All right.
On the tape? There's like a documentary.
I would like to just plan parties that are just We have a little bar, maybe like a little above ground pool. Yeah, a batting net that's like Michael. Whoa. Yeah. That would be fun though if we had.
So this is VNA filming here. I'm with John Bowman. So John, what's the date today?
Today is July 21st, 2019? Or is it the 22nd?
Yeah, it's the 22nd.
22nd, yeah, it's Monday. It is the day after Anne and VNA's birthday party, and it was an incredible night. Yep.
So John, tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe just introduce yourself really quick. And you lived at Holy Underground from the very beginning. You're one of the founding members. And maybe give us a brief summary of your overall experience, and maybe what would you say to somebody if you're trying to describe Holy Underground, and what was it like for you?
Wow, that's a lot to answer. So I am John Bowman. I am currently a multimedia artist living in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I just moved there last year from Baltimore. And yes, I was one of the founding members of the Holy Underground. I was there from July 2012 to I think August of 2016. And
so it's been almost 3 years basically that you moved out here.
Yep. And in the time that I was still living in Baltimore, but not living in the house, I frequently came back and did paintings with VNA, and drawings, and hung out with Chris, and hung out with VNA, of course, as well. And I think was involved in a couple shows at some point, and assisted Kelsey with her show, Kelsey Go Show, with her show at the time. So the house was and is an incredible experience, and it's definitely one of my most I draw a lot of pride in saying that I was part of this project, not only in the association with such great people, VNA Paul, Chris Ballant, Ann Russell, Mark Wadley, Madison Cohn, Jesse Reed. The original crew was a great group of people, and I'm extremely humbled to have something that I can say was partly my baby, and operated in this world on its own terms, and really fought to be what it wanted to be in spite of the limitations of the world, and what we wanted it to be was to be a lot of things. We wanted it to be a performance space for art, for music, theater, an exhibit space, a gallery. We wanted it to be a place for workshops, for practices, where people could shoot video for projects. I use this space to shoot a lot of stuff for some of my weird videos, and it fulfilled every dream I think we ever could have had with this project and this thing, and it was so much more than the goals we established. The culture we developed surrounding the shared purpose of the communal art support was truly transformative for myself, and I think a lot of other people would say the same. And I think that parties and potlucks that we held were extremely important and supplemental in the vision of this place, and it really served as a great sort of sandbox for kind of proto ideas that people had, and a playground where people could kind of weave in and out amongst each other's, nuances and complexities, and there was a lot of joy here, and I think that with this project, it's kind of in some ways currently, I would say, the pinnacle of my art career to have been involved as much as I was with this place and this project. Not to diminish my own work as a visual artist or a musician, but just to emphasize, what I think we did with this place, because we were open to pretty much anybody who we felt was gonna assist in a positive way with this project, and so we worked with people who were punks, punk artists or punk musicians. People played rock and roll here. There was hip hop of many different types. We had a lot of electronic music here of varying types, including ambient stuff, including drone brunch, of which I wasn't involved, but I'm still a big fan. We had classical performances, folk performances, jazz, acoustic, digital, experimental. It was truly eclectic, and it's not that we wanted it to be that way necessarily. I think it came as a result of, I think, our openness and our sort of relationship with stuff that we felt was vibrant and lively, and it didn't really matter what it was as long as it made us feel a certain feeling. And although this space, compared to other spaces, wasn't as well known or as long lasting, or didn't host the biggest artists in the world, I think that we need more spaces that operate with that sort of scope. We need more community art spaces where we support local artists and touring artists, and in my lifetime I feel like I don't see that maybe as much as maybe I do, but again, a lot of that could be age, so but I do think that we in our work we were able to really provide a strong spark to a lot of people who maybe wouldn't have been inspired in the same way before. So it's been an incredible ride, and if I were to describe it, in a sense to some other person, I would pretty much describe it with the word joy, because obviously, there's the human aspect of like dealing with each other's bodies in a small space, and that's going to happen regardless of the project itself. And I feel like we were able to really transcend a lot of those sort of physical difficulties in sharing a house with one another, through the project. And it's been great for me, and kind of unique in a sense, being a founding member and then leaving, not completely, and so it's been interesting to watch the arc of this place and to see who kind of steps in at different moments and takes care of things. Like Mark, at the beginning brought a lot of energy to this place. And I feel like when I was here, I was trying to do as much as I could to, host interesting artists and support musicians that I thought were interesting and were worthy of support. And V&A definitely hosted a lot of different shows throughout his time of a wide variety of people. And then, of course, Marion probably hosted the most shows of anybody at this point. So it's been eye-opening for me because I had never been in a sort of project like this before, mostly due to just age. I hadn't had a moment to create a shared art space with other friends in this sort of scope, or on this sort of scale, rather. And so it was very fulfilling to stick with it, for the majority of its lifetime, and see the difficulties that were posed before us, from landlords or the world itself. It was obviously difficult at times to encounter the outside Baltimore world at times, trying to run a small space. But I think that we were extremely kind in our operation, and that's where we had pretty sustained duration, all things considered. And so yeah, it kind of makes me want to do it again. But it is a lot to try to host a space like this. There's a lot of moments where people don't understand, the hosting aspect of things, and maybe act in a way that they wouldn't if they did understand things a bit better. I think those moments are outshined by far by the people who came and provided or blessed really this place with their art and their performance and their energy, because there are so many people that really it's difficult to thank them all, because I was only one person. There were so many different people involved. It was an incredible experience to see the range of people we had. We had people coming from, Puerto Rico. We had people from Germany. We had people's parents coming. We had, I feel like I'm forgetting even other people, but we had people from Chicago that came, and people from the West Coast that came. And just being in this place, you couldn't help but be exposed to really interesting people and really interesting moments and really interesting art. And it was truly an idea generator in a sense. You couldn't be in this place without being inspired, I think. And a lot of people would come in here saying that they didn't draw, and then we would ensnare them with our ways to get them to draw. And a lot of times they would draw these ridiculously funny images. And so I think really this place stands as an example to be optimistic about the world, and to try and to put yourself out there, and to give a damn about yourself, your friends, and your community. And so I think more and more we need examples of that. And it's not like our thing was necessarily like we didn't have magic beans necessarily, but I think we were just a bunch of creative people that had good friendships and all wanted wanted to kind of take their own art practice to the next level, you know. And I think everybody involved did that. So, yeah.
Can I ask you a
Definitely.
spontaneous question?
Yep.
We founded this place like 7 years ago, a bit over 7 years ago now. And now you're able to look back the whole thing. Are there certain things from your perspective now that you think at the time we could have done better? And are there certain things that you think that stick out to you that we think we did really well? And for example, if you were to give words of wisdom to our younger selves, or let's say a different group of young people, the age we were back then, what kind of advice do you think you would give to a group of people wanting to start something similar?
Well, I think the things we did well is we brought a lot of, I think, positive-minded people into the group. You know, nobody was really too I think everybody there understood the greater goals in mind and was able to embrace positive working techniques. You know, I guess I'm being vague because of trying to avoid defining positive and negative, but yeah, I think we just all had a lot of people who were really willing to do work, you know, people who were fun, and I think that if you were going to do something like this, you need to be careful about the people that you really have to rely on, because this is an investment on so many levels: emotional, mental, physical, and so we were blessed, I think, with a bunch of great people, and I think there are a bunch of great people out there, but I think, you know, either we were fortunate in the group of people that we had, or we just consciously kind of honed in on sort of a select group. I wish I had maybe better advice to impart as far as what we could have done differently, or what we maybe didn't do as well. I feel like a lot of the mistakes, or I don't know, I feel like, you know, every moment that we encountered a setback, you know, I think was a positive moment, because we refined our practice, you know, and what works for us may not work for everybody else. I think, you know, it's important to keep the greater goal in mind, and to just try to, you know, embrace the project in a way that is sustainable for yourself, but also you know, keeps the project going, because it is a baby, and you have to be mindful of the project itself at times, you know. So I guess maybe that's some advice to impart, you know, because you can't just treat the project like a static thing. You have to be sensitive to it at times, and understand. And you know, I think that I definitely look back and think that if I had, you know, the knowledge I had now in the moment back then, I would have handled things differently. But that's the nature of life. And so, yeah, I think just finding a good group of people, having a sustainable but you know, efficient, you know, workload for the project is important. And yeah, make sure that you guys have a clear idea of the goal early on. And I think that we could have refined things maybe a little bit more at points. But I think that, there is a certain element with these projects where you can't plan it all out ahead of time. You can plan out certain systems, like with the food budget and chore systems and things like that. But I think that, with a project like this, you are sometimes better off just embracing the moment and just getting started rather than trying to plan it all out ahead of time. And I think that, that said, you should be willing to make plans, but I think that there's a certain energy and essence in the moment that is important to seize. And so maybe the moment may not be ideal at a certain time for your project, or for a project like this, but if it truly feels right, you may need to follow that instinct. So yeah, I don't know if you have any more questions.
Maybe just really quick, just say where you are now, like what you've been doing.
Yeah.
You've been away for almost a year,
Mm-hmm.
or you moved away from Baltimore for almost a year.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm living in Harrisonburg, Virginia currently, which is a smaller town in the Shenandoah Valley, and so a large part of the reason for moving from Baltimore, in spite of all the good things that are here for me still, like DNA, Paul, Marion, Chris, and Ann, among other friends here as well. I guess that I personally felt that after a period of living in cities that I wanted to embrace a more natural habitat for myself, because of just sort of a shift in philosophy regarding my body and my overall health and the way that I operate in the world. Because I guess Baltimore for me, it was a great launch pad and workspace, but the actual city itself, has some difficult aspects. So that said, in Harrisonburg, I'm trying to be healthier, get outside more, exercise more, but I am also still aiming to take my art making to the next level, music making to the next level, because both of those projects have a lot going for them, but they require a lot of direct. They both require a lot of work to be taken to the next level, and not necessarily because of the quality of the content, but because of the infrastructure needed to get to that next level. So so hopefully I'll be in a better position, or the position ideally, to make it to that next level soon, and then I'll reevaluate where I'm at that point, and who knows, maybe there could be a Holy Underground 2.0.
About peanut butter on your a-hole, Dina?
You're asking me about my what do I dream about at night, and what are my sexual fetishes. That's
No
just
way.
the first thing that came out of my mouth.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and then I was also saying the chocolate sauce.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. First leaving the Holy Underground. No. Hey Phil, any words of wisdom for the future past Holy Underground members when they look at this years from now?
Wow. I would say, time is an arrow. I heard that somewhere. But,
And any sweet memory you would like to share from your time here before you depart?
I think dance parties in the kitchen. That's always nice. The kitchen is a dance floor. Remember that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. We're gonna miss you, Phil. Oh my God, it's been so good. It's been real. Look at these feet. So now is the time where we're making stock out of the 1 year plus of hoarding chicken bones and who knows veggie scraps in both our freezers.
It's like the Night King's army. It's just
Yeah.
ice and bones.
So it was maybe, I don't know, like 8 bags of chicken bones and various matter left over from last year.
Also, we ate pizza.
Yeah, we're
Chris
gonna
and
boil
I.
it for a while and let it simmer overnight.
What day is it?
Today is August 26th.
What year?
I remember that because yesterday was my mom's birthday, August 25th. The year is 2019.
Yes. Yep. And we're in the final week of Anne and myself at Holy Underground.
How does it feel, guys?
It's pretty wild.
We gotta interview y'all.
I agree. Yeah, we'll get that on
The tape.
the tape scene.
There's a lot to be done.
Yeah, a lot of pieces, but we're getting there.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and yeah, it's kind of it's kind of surreal to see you guys leave in just a few days, Chris and
I know.
And here we are making a massive chicken stock.
Yeah, we gotta eat.
We'll drink it.
We gotta
all week
eat
long
it
together.
And look, here's the star of the show.
Yeah. The protagonist.
You wanna do hammock for the tape?
You can try. I don't want to bother her too much.
Just try.
It's footage of the moving.
What's the date?
It's September 1, 2019.
And what's
Sunday.
happening?
We're moving to a new house. And you're moving to a new house.
We're all moving to new houses. Chris breaking down his room. It's the end. This is Anne's room getting broken down.
Pink room.
How do you feel, Anne?
I feel good. I feel very excited about me and Chris's new house. I also feel it feels very weird to be moving from this house. This is the only place. Oh no, it's not the only place I lived in Baltimore because we lived in Copycat, but it's interesting to be moving on to the next era of Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big change for all of us.
I'm leaving this glass dick here for the next tenants.
I'm sure that'll be super appreciated.
I think they'll like it.
It's very, very thoughtful.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, very considerate.
Yeah.
These little guys seem pretty rough, dude.
Did you say dye back? As in it re-dye?
The palladium.
There's the table and everything along with it.
Light is on.
We're moving her. I know it sucks. She's in.
It's over.
Alrighty, so we are working on taking care of the two paintings right now. The lovely buyers are here. Aaron, friend from high school, half brother.
Hello. And Julian.
And Jules.
A co-pilot.
Yes.
Yes, thank you guys for the interest, and painting is moving out the door.
Wait, you're gonna bring it
I'm filming now. Here they
You
go.
have to plug it in. Is it a plug-in only?
That is correct.
I wish it was one of those new digital ones.
3, 2, 1. Alright. Let's make sure. Okay, yeah. Yellow strata is on its way out to a happy new home. How's it feel, Aaron?
Feels good. I have to get this thing on my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, these do unscrew. This might be a little easier to get through. Hold on a second. Get in your hand. Yeah.
Sneezed and then
What happened?
a little bit puking.
Nice dragging him down.
Somebody hold this for, so I'm gonna hit the last screw over here. Thank you. Did you want this all this material?
Maybe some of it, yeah. I'll need a
in the car.